Yo, what's going on, everybody? In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down a positional tier list. I'm going to give you so far who I think are the best players for each position. Before we get into it though, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn your notifications on, and in the comment section below, let me know if you agree with the tier list or not. Okay, let me know what your tier list kind of is, and or if you just agree with it or you disagree with it, and why or why not. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at the tier list, baby. We're gonna start off with catchers. All right, the S tier in catchers, in my opinion, are gonna be Francisco Alvarez, the Future Stars that was just released last week. Then we got JT Realmuto, and then Kensuke Kondu. All right, those three guys are my S tier catchers in no particular order. It just depends on what you want, whether you want a lefty that can swing it, because there's a bunch of righty starters, and the best starters at the moment are pretty much all right-handed pitchers, or if you want a catcher with massive pop in Francisco Alvarez, who also has really good clutch, and then JT Realmuto, who's an all-around catcher, can hit, defense, and speed. Next is A tier is going to be Gary Carter and Salvador Perez. They just don't crack that S tier for me. And then B tier, we got a few. We got Mike Piazza, Andy Rodriguez, Johnny Bench, Harry Ford, Gary Sanchez. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce this guy's name, but you know who I'm talking about, because you know he has a very tough name to pronounce. Logan O'Hoppe. And then C tier is Joe Mauer. He just doesn't have that pop into that B tier. I think we need pop this year. He just doesn't do it. But yeah, that's my tier list for the catchers. Now we'll be moving on to first baseman. All right, so first baseman, we're gonna have Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Miguel Cabrera. Obviously, Babe Ruth, you got to get him as one of the set one collections. So the more attainable ones would be Lou Gehrig and Miguel Cabrera, and the cheapest one being Lou Gehrig. So he's probably the highest, should be on the highest on the list in regards to his hitting mixed in with his price. That's a good bang for your buck. But that Miggy's also pretty damn good, has that 125 clutch as well. And he has good hitting attributes just off rip. And then of course Babe Ruth, if you do pick him, 125 across the board, can't really deny that. A tier, we got Big Mac, we got Jordan Walker, and then Joey Meneses. The thing that puts McGuire in that A tier instead of S tier is going to be the fact that yes, he has massive pop, decent contact, but his clutch is actually lower than his contact. And then, you know, you want your first baseman probably hitting somewhere in the middle of your order, with guys in scoring position. Again, that clutch being lower. Now I'm talking about the higher difficulty, obviously on Legend. That's not going to really be great, but you know, on Hall of Fame and below, it's not really terrible, because he does have like 96 clutch off rip. But again, he's very expensive as well. I don't think the price matches to his skill level either. Then you got the B tier, you got Jeff Bagwell. I mean, Jeff, you can even bump him down to C because of how bad his swing, but based off attributes and price, he's in B tier. Buck O'Neil, especially if you give him that tier 3 boost, he is definitely B tier, borderline A tier. Pete Alonso, and then you got Freddie Freeman. And then in the C tier, you got Young Ho Park, Rowdy Tellez, and Christian Walker. Now that we've finished the first baseman, we're going to jump into the second baseman. All right, so second base, I got S tier, Ketel Marte. There's not really like a ton of options, but I'm going to go with Ketel, Joe Morgan, and then Cano. And then again, you can play other guys at second base like Francisco Lindor. You can even throw Derek Jeter at second. Of course, they'll be going into that S tier, but based off second baseman as their primary, these three guys would probably be the S tier guys, with Ketel being well ahead of the other two, being the fact he's a switch hitter, glitchy swing, very good hitting attributes, and great clutch. Then A tier, you got Tim Anderson, Edward Julian, Michael Bush, Jeff McNeil, Miguel Vargas, and Gleyber Torres. And the B tier, you got Biggio and Luis Urias. You could probably even bump Biggio down to that C tier with how bad his contact is, but we'll just leave him at the B tier because he's got he's got bad power, but decent contact, good speed, good defense. And then C tier, you got Curtis Mead, Future Stars. That is your second baseman. Now we'll be jumping into the shortstops. All right, so now we move on to shortstop. S tier, we're gonna have Trey Turner, Derek Jeter, Francisco Lindor, and then Bo Bichette. Obviously, both DJ and Trey Turner. Collection rewards. Turner being the 110 set one collection reward. You got to collect 110 cards at this point of the year, or not at this point of the year, we're still early in the year, but at this point there's over 230 cards. I think it's 232. So He is pretty damn attainable, especially if you get most of your team affinities done, if not all of it. That's 60 free cards there with the WC program. You know, you're pushing almost 80 or even over 80 just based off of grinding. Include the egg hunt one. That's another 5 cards right there. So there's a lot of opportunities to get some cards for this set one. Tops now cards as well, grind those out. I think just by doing all those together, you may be able to get that 110 now. So don't quote me on that, but if you're not at 110, you're pretty damn close to it. But Derek Jeter, he is very expensive. He is a good card, has good attributes, but in my opinion, I think Trey Turner is better than Derek Jeter, just his swing. And, you know, obviously Jeter's, you can argue Jeter's attributes are better, but Trey Turner's swing is just elite. Francisco Lindor, another card. He's not very expensive at all. Switch hitter. Shortstop's going to play diamond defense. Very good swing as well. Definitely in the S tier. And then you got Bo Bichette. I call him the poor man's Derek Jeter. He's got high contact, good power. Just doesn't have that defense or speed that Derek Jeter has. But again, if you don't want to go broke and all you got to do is grind 99, you can pick him on your first AL East pack for the Team Affinity Charisma packs, and you got yourself a poor man's Derek Jeter right there. Next in the A tier is Wander Franco. Wander Franco's in the A tier. He's almost S tier. That power against righties is what puts him in the A tier. If he had like even 80 something pop against righties, you could definitely push him into that S tier. Elliot De La Cruz, another guy that can easily be in the S tier, but that clutch for me just doesn't do it. 80 clutch, that's what bumps him down. Xander Bogaerts, very good card, A tier. And then Anthony Volpe, another card that's pretty damn good, and he'll be an A tier guy. B tier, you got the Charisma Baez, Tommy Edman, and Bobby Witt Jr. And then you got Oswaldo Peraza as another B tier. And then C tier, you got the Layden card, WBC, Ezekiel Tovar, Jeremy Pena. And then D tier is that Kim WBC card. Now that's all your shortstops for your that is my shortstops tier list. Now we'll be moving on to the outfielders. So for outfielders, we just did all of them combined. I didn't go left, center, and right. We just did all outfielders. S tier, we're gonna have Sammy Sosa, Mike Trout, Kyle Tucker, and Julio Rodriguez. Those are the S tier guys for sure. Ricky Henderson, A tier, borderline S tier, but again, he doesn't have the best pop, and his swing isn't the greatest. Some guys do like his swing, some guys don't. I'm one of those guys that don't like his swing, so that's why I put him in the A tier for myself as well. You got Corbin Carroll, you know, great defense, decent hitting, just doesn't have that pop against lefties. Clutch is okay, nothing special. You got Jazz Chisholm. What puts him in the A tier, he was borderline S tier for me because his defense, speed, and he has great hitting against righties, good clutch as well, but that contact and power against lefties is pretty damn low. Then you got Jim Edmonds and Eric Davis, other guys that wouldn't even think about S tier, but definitely they're solidified in that A tier. And then we got B tier. We got a lot of guys. We got Jock Peterson, Eloy Jimenez, Hank Aaron, Mookie Betts, George Springer, Stan Musial, Greg Vaughn, Christian Yelich, Juan Soto, Randy Arozarena, Stanton, Reggie Jackson, David Justice, and Charlie Blackmon. All these guys B tier in the outfield. A lot of these guys, there's some guys that have good defense, but a lot of these guys just don't have good defense at all. And this year, outfield defense is very important. You get awful jumps if you don't have good reaction and good defense. It's very important to have that good defense, in my opinion, in the outfield. And then C tier, you got Gary Sheffield, Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Santander, and Trace Thompson. It pains me to put Santander there, but his hitting just doesn't do it for me. Like, it's an amazing swing, but that contact against righties is definitely kind of low. You can get away with it in the lower levels. On Legend, though, you know, 87 contacts, really not going to play. He has okay clutch, but again, the defense, I'm factoring the defense with all these guys as well. You got to have good defense in the outfield, in my opinion, this year. The outfield tier list, now we'll be jumping on to DHs. Yes, we do have DHs this year, so we got to do a DH tier list, first time ever. S tier, definitely Babe Ruth. We got Eddie Matthews as well, Eloy Jimenez, Jock Peterson, Miguel Cabrera, and Lou Gehrig. All those guys are S tier in my opinion. Jock Peterson, great hitting against righties, very good against lefties still. And the biggest thing for me is he has that 125 clutch right off rip. So anytime you have somebody in scoring position, he's going to have 125 contact, no matter if you're facing a righty or lefty. Again, Eloy, another guy, great swing, good numbers off rip, and has a 120 clutch right off rip. So another guy that has not great defense, so he fits in that DH role. And again, he has a really, really good swing. A tier DHs we got. All right, we got A tier DHs. We got Mark McGwire, Munetaka Murakami, Stanton, and then Stan Musial. Munetaka, he could easily be considered S tier for sure. I don't personally like his swing, and I've seen a lot of people that don't like his swing at all because that very early, extremely early leg kick, it's very tough to differentiate between hard stuff and off speed, and then even if you do, it's hard to stay back on that off speed stuff. But if you can use him and somehow are able to stay back on the off speed stuff, he is definitely S tier for sure. But for me, he's not, because I don't like his leg kick and I don't hit very well with him. So again, that's going to be based on you if you can't hit with him. B tier, we got Santander, Juan Soto, and David Justice. You can even probably bump Soto over to the A tier. Honestly, I probably should have put him there, but we have him in the B tier here. So with that being said, just in your mind, see him as an A tier guy. He definitely is an A tier DH. He has very good hitting off rip, and he also has good clutch as well. And then last but not least, C tier is going to be Reggie Jackson. I just think these guys above him are just better. Yes, Reggie does have very good clutch at 122, so you probably can make the argument at least B tier. But again, I just have all these guys above him. Had to put somebody in that C tier. So I did forget third baseman. I don't know why I did that. So now we're going to discuss the third baseman. Sorry about that. But S tier, definitely Chipper Jones. He is above beyond everybody else. He's absolutely disgusting. This is your best Chipper Jones we've ever had. Then you got Eddie Matthews, Manny Machado, and Munetaka Murakami. As a third baseman, of course, Munetaka is an S tier right now. And then all those other guys as well are S tier. Manny's got a great swing. Awesome clutch as well. Eddie Matthews, amazing swing. I absolutely love it. Great clutch, great hitting. He just A tier, you got Yohan Moncada, Brooks Robinson, Rafael Devers, and Gunnar Henderson. Yeah, I threw Moncada in there. He has pretty much his better hitting, in my opinion, than the Francisco Lindor, and he also has a very good clutch. I think his clutch off rip is 108. So if you move up, you know, he can get over 110 on that clutch, which is huge. Then B tier, you got Eugenio Suarez and Brett Beatty. And then in the C tier, we got Troy Glosky, Brian Hayes, and Gio Urshela, the WBC card. But yeah, that's my tier list for third baseman. Again, I am sorry that I skipped over it. So thankfully I caught that, because if I would have just missed it the whole video, that would have been awful. But we caught it, so yeah, I was planning on doing that one after shortstops and definitely skipped over it. But now we'll be moving on to the pitchers that we've discussed everything position player related. So pitchers, S tier, we're gonna have, and I put them S tier because these guys are guys that I think should be in your rotation. Obviously Pedro Martinez, one of the set one collection awards. And most people are going to go with Chipper or Babe first, and then after that pick Chipper or Babe, whoever you didn't pick first. But I do think that eventually when we can get Pedro, he will be S tier. He's got great, you know, attributes all the way around. As an outlier in his fastball, throws a cutter as well, hard slider. Just don't see how he's not S tier. Roki Sasaki, Shohei Ohtani, Dustin May, Bob Gibson, and Grayson Rodriguez. Those are the guys that I think are the best pitchers right now as starting pitchers in the game. A tier, we got Madison Bumgarner, Yu Darvish, Bob Feller, and Adam Wainwright. Then we got B tier in Cueto, Pablo Lopez, and Fergie Jenkins. And then C tier, we got Taj Bradley, Walter Johnson, Dontrelle Willis, Yamamoto, and Brandon Webb. S tier guys, those are guys that I think are the best starting pitchers right now in the game. And I think somewhat of that assembly with maybe one guy or two guys from the A tier should be in your starting five. So moving on to the last one, which is relief pitchers. Let's go ahead and take a look at it before we end the video. All right, so relievers, S tier. Now, I put them in the S tier again because I think these guys are the best relievers right now in the game, and should be in your bullpen. Again, there's going to be one that you have to choose, either a starter or a reliever, and that's Shohei, but he is an S tier reliever if you go that route. Besides that, we got Diego Castillo, Billy Wagner, Gregory Soto, Josh Hader, Eric Gagne, Rob Nen. And then A tier, we got Camilo Doval, Lee Smith, Rob Dibble, Edwin Diaz, Devin Williams, and Taylor Rogers. And then in the B tier, we're going to have Loaizaga. Everything else after that, reliever wise, maybe you could throw Trevor Hoffman in there because he does give that boost, but even then he would be a B tier for me. That's the only guy that I'm really thinking that I'm missing. Something of an assembly of all these guys should be in your pen, in my opinion. Preferably the S tier guys, of course, but you know, if you don't have all the S tier guys, try to mix in the S tier with some A tier guys, and your bullpen should be absolutely stout for this point of the year. Anyways, that is my current positional tier list. Again, in the comment section, please let me know if you agree with it, disagree with it, and if I missed out on anything. I'm sure I did. There's always some things that you can miss out on. Not 100% perfect, but hopefully I got everything. Hopefully I was a lot closer to perfect than not closer to perfect with this positional tier list. So you just let me know in the comment section what you think about it. All right, again, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn those notifications on and leave a like on the video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Love y'all. Peace.